hả? Cô lấy nước cho hai. Con đang nấu. Con chỉ có 6 phút. Tưởng cô thường là cô còn 2 phút nữa là nấu. Chưa bóc hả? Chị muốn ngồi đó hả? Em lấy cái này nha. Trên này có bình bông đẹp quá vậy. The paper. Là sutra. Tất chỉ đó sư cô. Yes, trong tổng á. Tiền quá. Cái lời tại tôi lấy có viết chứ. Với lại tại cái sự kinh nó tại đọc là hiểu chứ. Thấy không sư cô? Rồi, có đây. Chị có cuốn kinh không?
Em cầm cái quyển đó đó sư cô.
Đây.
Không, em cầm cái quyển này nè.
Có.
Từ quay là từ Bodhicharyavatara.
Thầy chú nha. Everyone. How many? Just 3 here.
I'm still doing acupuncture.
Rồi, có tin chưa?
Con ngồi chứ.
Chị ngồi đây nhé.
Dạ vâng, bác nè.
Để đây yên
Bác ngồi đừng dần.
Bác, con lấy một con ngồi trên cái ghế đi.
Ngồi đây được không?
Chị nghe.
Lamadang gumbun jambayang lan chanza lo kange lon jen jenyen jendai nyedar nandai razawe jenyen de jejen seje nyeje tukar le dhamze kanda sebe chandar mare mendom donga jeze Dozo pen la puji taze yan lan tuje yan den zon do dare je do nyemo nyen leje cha do roze je mare menzen do ma nyu go jenyen chenze roje dene da jen so ju ta zen yun den zo jaze tuwe go chodan jen chunyen jende nale menze jam yala endi marabazana de 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 marabazana Umara Bhajana De 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 Umara Umara Bhajana De Umara Bhajana De Umara Bhajana De De Zeden Je Je Chera Veze Je Dalen De Mo Membaraza Padan De Je Cholo Dobai Lode Gobi Nawa Zandu Zon De Zon Zon De Nan Je Je Ngore Nan Je Ngore Jan Je Jada Ganin Zonda Majeba Follow Ginger Ginger Vision Ginger Jima Meva Langura the Dembazum Biba Jimmy One and John the Ginger the Joe Shivan and Zera Tamji the two Gingers and Zimber Zenduzon Gambishas and Diamond Business and Bendorash Sembezes and Dumber when you can make into Ginger to Jetamaku Nation engineers of Japon Jabe, Luambe Monger Bejabe, Terenda and Zorajon against Olympic Dombozer and Javan and Rajan and Jedros and Zabeji and Jumbarvi. Pemanjunendale in Zorajon. Gombolo Joya Devandan to main in Cholan Jinda, Janam Bozo, Zamin Jincholan Jinda Ijon, Counted the Virgin Bugo and the good Jumbation of the Nimbidens, Bibin and Jerba, Chimeves Jinda Ijon, Redonjabajunale, Bombilon Lepo with the Jindon, the Jinda Mibam Jambi and Jinda Ijon. Kongindala Ribalo Badan, Dojit and Jimena Nazo, Ravazada Umburchina, Mujit and Jela Mindaijon, Namoguru, Jinim Bamendan Jezala Punjaran, Tujit Bitin, Tujikala Mentanawa, Padim Lameja Jindaijon, and the Sanjay Kadin Sanjay Kuneva Bigan, Sarila Mijala Zoade, Razondro Lamna Jela, on the Judon Vijidena, the Jela Marjubaka Soda, and the Zambi Chabimbe. Simbra Devada Dandirji, Namoria Damba, Laigedano Danajigi, Dukumda Meganum Dan, Duagunjidanam Jizambar, Amjege do Suzur Tenurji. Majunam Gita Danyam Bisan Jentamje, Namdo Denideval, Anameba, Yandabanzu, Sanjay Jumbuan Buche, Chine Jam Gubresha, Dei Chedu, Teba Chimbishunlu, Chanjusembi Jebalanjuba. Teni Tsushindu, Sen, Yamsulawa, Junyamdu, Sambacham Chuchu, Tujabada Chete Sen Towers. So, as the reminding before we enter into this meritorious activity of listening, Dharma teaching, and contemplating, so that we need to have a right intention to engage into this kind of meritorious activity, which really can help us. Each of these actions could become exact cost to achieve enlightenment. For that purpose, that we need to modify this, we need to generate this awakened mind, and then generate awakened mind in this way, that thinking that the purpose of this Mahayana scripture composed by Shantideva, called The Way of Bodhisattva's Life, that I'm going to listen, and then I'll try my best to put into practice for the sake of motherly sentient beings, in order to lead them to complete enlightenment. For that purpose, that I'm going to listen this and I'm going to put into practice. So that kind of intention, generating that kind of intention it's considering as an awakened mind, generating awakened mind. And that intention could really help us to transform every second of these actions, become cause to achieve enlightenment. For that purpose, it is so important to generate this with a very proper and gently. So in this way that we generate this awakened mind. And then based on with this great intention, on top of that, and then we also need to modify the manner during the listening teachings, such as that listen carefully in an excellent way and hold it and try to hold it as Shakyamuni Buddha always said before he gave some advice, teaching, that he always remind his follower, the listener, to prepare the listen advice or the teaching in this way. So in briefly, what does it mean that listen carefully means now focus your ear to the word or the sound of the teaching, that without paying attention your ear to any other sound of any other sound than the teaching itself. And then in an excellent way means while listening this Dharma teaching, and try not to mix the kind of like the lesser expectations, or the kind of like try not to mingle while you're listening this Dharma teaching, that mingling some sort of like emotions, like those in short, that mingling within one's mind, like some sort of like the 5 poisons, and then the pride, and then not just that, also that mixing during that moment, that so if I listening this Dharma teaching, that I can achieve the temporarily happy, and I can achieve some sort of like people can consider me as a Dharma practitioner, or like that kind of small things, that kind of intention, that kind of emotions, try not to mix while you are listening this Dharma teaching at that moment. This kind of try not to mix with your mind that kind of emotions as well. So not mixing these kind of small emotions, and then also mainly those 5 poisons emotions, not mixing while listening Dharma teachings. It's considering as an excellent way. Listen carefully in an excellent way. And then hold it. And hold it, what does mean hold it? Then memorize it and try to hold it, its meaning, memorize its meaning, and memorize its word if you can. Even meaning is the number one that you should try to keep in your mind, memorize in mind, whatever teachings comes. And then plus, if you can, and even try to hold it, those words that which describe the meaning. And then in this way, if you try to hold it, then that can becomes very deep rooted in your mind, so you don't forget. So you can apply this anytime. If you don't hold it, then while you're listening Dharma teaching, then it makes sense. It's like it is right thing to do. You can feel it. But if you don't hold it, then later when you really need it, we won't be able to apply that antidote, that idea. And then when we are not being able to apply, then it's not really helping. So therefore, and in order to utilize that, in order to apply that later, and specifically during the situations that when you really need to apply those antidote, this idea, for that purpose, it is very good that if you try to hold it, that hold it means that meaning is the number one, and then the word, try to hold it, the word which is describing its meaning. So these are the kind of like in the how to say in attitude while listening Dharma teaching, that actually not only while only the listening Dharma teachings, any kind of meritorious activity do that this intention awakened mind is always important. And then plus that while listening Dharma teachings, this changing this attitude or kind of behave, that listen carefully in an excellent way and try to hold it. And that way you should prepare yourself to engage into this listening Dharma teachings meritorious activity. So these are the now preparations that, and then the actual teaching that this Bodhicharyavatara way of Bodhisattva's life has main kind of like has a 10 chapter main 4 theme that how to say first 3 chapter describing the benefit of having this awakened mind, and then in order to have this awakened mind within oneself, what one should prepare, what one should prepare to have it. And then more or less that in brief that it is same like a Mondo teaching, that in a Mondo teaching this kind of like in a higher teaching they talk like this: to achieve the ultimate realizations, that primordial wisdom, ultimate realizations, and you need to have enough accumulation merit and purifications. You're missed it. Same way here, this bodhicitta is the seed to achieve the ultimate realizations. To have that seed to ultimate realizations, we may also need this accumulation merit, enough merit, and then purification. So therefore, Shantideva was guiding us that in order to have this awakened mind within oneself, we need to make sure that ourself has enough merit and then purify our mistake. Because these are the 2 things. If we lack, if we lack the merit, and if we have more kind of like bad habitual tendencies, it can be really prevent us to have this awakened mind within oneself. Even though we are able to have it, but this habitual tendency can be prevent us to maintain continuously. So therefore, this purifications and accumulation merit is important. And therefore, Shantideva is also in order to have this seed of ultimate realizations, which is bodhicitta, awakened mind. Also, you need to prepare to have a accumulation merit and purify your mistakes. And that's how it's guiding in this 2nd chapter. And then 3rd chapter also. And then 3rd chapter mainly, and after you understand its benefit and its preparation, then how the actual awakened mind can have within oneself, showing the method or the complete method how one can have it within oneself, the awakened mind. And then the next 3 chapters, 4th, 5th, and 6th, this 3 chapter is the theme, mainly it is describing, it is guiding that what you have awakened mind within yourself already, and in order to make sure that it will not going to fade, or it will not, in order not to deteriorate it, you have this awakened mind, what you already have it, and how to maintain it, how to protect your this awakened mind, the bodhicitta within yourself. And this guiding through this next 3 chapters, like the 4th, 5th, and 6th. And then 7, 8, and 9, and not to just protect your awakened mind, your bodhicitta, but also how to develop, how to increase, how to enhance your this awakened mind further, so you can really, it can really becomes ripen to ripen to its result, the ultimate realizations, that how it can be transformed. That guideline Shantideva guides and described in that 7th, 8th, and 9th chapter. And then that's the kind of like actually complete showing the Mahayana path. This within this 9th chapter that he's completing is how ordinary being can practice the Mahayana path completely. And then the last chapter is dedications, that whatsoever we accumulated merit through this engaging into this practice, Mahayana path, then how to dedicate it. This 10th chapter is dedication, but also at the same time that it also guides us how one should dedicate one's merit to. We can also learn that how Shantideva is dedicating in the same way if we follow it, and that's the perfect way to dedicate it also. Anyway, so these are the 4 main themes, this 10 chapters, this Bodhicharyavatara. And among that, the first theme we completed, and we are in this second theme, which is now mainly Shantideva was trying to explain or guide us how to maintain that what you already have in this awake mind. Now from here, this advice are based on a person who already received it, this bodhisattva's vow, and then now how to maintain it. Okay, so you should listen based on that assumption, or how can I say, assumption or that basis that you should listen. Otherwise, and then this doesn't really, sometimes it may not make sense if you don't listen based on that. So far that the actual teaching, then we are in the second theme, which is begin of the second theme, which is that how to maintain this awakened mind, the bodhicitta vow, that which we already received, how to say, that bodhisattva's vow. And then this 4th chapter describing here, this first stanza we completed last time. Actually, this first stanza in Shantideva's guiding the brief instruction that how one should maintain this bodhisattva's vow. And then the children of the conqueror who thirst. Children of the conqueror means now here 1, 4th chapter, page 87. Isn't it we are here last time? Yeah, I think so. We are here. This first chapter we completed. Here you can see even that Shantideva himself, how he is saying, Galvi say Jiteta Guru. Chanchur Samrapten Zones. Here, this 2 lines. The children of the conqueror who thus have firmly grasped the bodhicitta. That he is also assuming that now you have bodhisattva's vow. And based on that, now how to maintain this bodhisattva vow, then he's describing, he's guiding that how one should do. Then he's saying this, should never turn aside from it. Strive never to transgress it discipline. This is very short now, actually. But as I described you earlier, that what does it really mean? Then I describe you with this 18 good downfall and plus 2, that losing the aspiration bodhicitta and application bodhicitta, 20. Total 20. These 20 are considering as like a gabilabja, means that precepts that we need to, how to say, not precepts, that practice things that we bodhisattva should avoid, right? Things that bodhisattva after you became Bodhisattva, then in order not to transgress your Bodhisattva's vow, and you should avoid these 20 things doing. And also that at the beginning, I told you that how to say, beginner Bodhisattva's path practitioner can be choose with the one precepts, the aspiration Bodhisattva. And then later, then if you are familiar with that, then you can add it more and those all other 19 precepts. These are the things that if you avoid, then we can tell ourselves that I maintained Bodhisattva's vow. And that's how that I last time also I told you that that's how you can have it yourself confident. That unless if you don't know these things, then you may confuse. Or am I broke my Bodhisattva vow or not? And you may need to consult somebody to ask, discuss. I did this. Is this becomes transgressed Bodhisattva's vow or not? Then always finding somebody to help you that whether you are transgressed it or not. It's challenge, difficult. It's better that if you know yourself what it makes transgress and what does not. And therefore, this that in order to understand by yourself whether I transgressed it or not, then you need to understand what are the things really makes transgressed your Bodhisattva's vow. And for that purpose, we studied this, the 20 things that which Bodhisattva, being a Bodhisattva, should avoid, and such as grasping or kind of like rubbing the triple James things. We start from there, right? And then abandoning dharma completely. Those are 5. We described those first 5. It is very much possible to can occur to those kings. And another 5. Actually, another 5 is just talking about 5, but it's actually 1. So therefore, actually not 20. We're saying 16. Or that these 5 things, 5 precepts can become 1, right? It is just because of the object different. As I described you before this, these are the 5 precepts, 5 things that most likely, or kind of like you're saying highly likely. Kind of like I say, right? Highly likely it can happen to the ministers. Highly likely it can happen to the kings, and highly likely it can happen to the ordinary beings. That's how it differentiated those precepts. Actually, it does not mean that these things only to the king, only to the minister, only to the ordinary. Eights cannot occur to the king. It does not mean. And then 5s cannot occur to the ordinary being. It does not mean that way. It can happen to anybody, but highly likely that's how it differentiated. And the way it differentiated, it is also help us to easy to memorize too. That we memorize, this 5 highly likely can occur to the king, highly likely can occur to the minister, highly likely those 8 to the ordinary beings. And then plus these 2 is everybody. Losing aspiration bodhisattva and application bodhisattva. For this, everybody equally highly likely. But these highly likely to the king and ministers are not, it is talking about highly likely, but it is not saying that ordinary cannot occur. ordinary beings also can occur these things. As long as you occur, then you transgress your bodhisattvas. Wow. That's how you can understand, you can identify whether I transgressed it or not. And this is something that being a bodhisattva practitioner has to avoid in order to maintain their bodhisattvas. Wow. And then, plus, now, avoiding alone is not enough, but also there's something that bodhisattva should act, should do it. And then those are normally 4 immeasurables, and then 6 perfection practice. And these are the things, if you do it, and you can also see that I'm walking on bodhisattva's path, Mahayana path. I'm practicing Mahayana path. That's how you can tell yourself whether am I practicing Mahayana path or not. As long as you're practicing this path, as long as you avoiding those 20s, you can tell yourself that I protect bodhisattva's well, and I'm practicing bodhisattva's way of life. And based on that can also include the benefiting others too. As I said earlier, that moral, this now one stanza is actually talking about moral of bodhisattva's way. The moral of bodhisattvas mainly like this, avoiding these 20 and engaging into these 10 things, and then benefiting others in any ways, right? Benefiting others in any way does not mean that benefiting others in a very wrong way. That we shouldn't take it. Benefit others in a proper way. That has to be the how to say, practice of Mahayana path. You can't just benefit like a very wrong way, as I normally say that persons who ask you a cigarette or alcohol, and then you generate compassion and you just give cigarette and alcohol, and that's, you are somehow mundane or worldly benefiting, not really Mahayana way of benefiting. It's difficult to become a Mahayana path. So for us, it is better to practice in this way, that benefit in a proper way. Benefit in some different way is difficult right now. So anyhow, so that's how we should understand by this first stanza it is talking about. But Shantideva here, it's very summarized it, this. He didn't describe it, this, what do you call it? Precepts here. He wrote it another scriptures called Labdu. Labdu. Labdu means that lab means the precepts, the contents of precepts. He wrote it another scripture called contents of precepts. In that contents of precepts, and he wrote it all these precepts detailed. And he's also how to say, he didn't wrote this here because I think he wrote it in that another scripture. And these two has to be kind of like a how can I say? It's very good if you look these two together. And that scripture is also really very much related with this way of Bodhisattva's life, in describing the precepts about the Mahayana's precepts. Anyhow, so but in this way, that is what it's describing on the others. So this is what you need to understand, and this is what if you are maintaining, then you can tell yourself. And then now the second stanza, which is now from here, how to say, Shantideva guiding us to how to maintain this awakened mind, which we already generated, which we already have it within oneself. And then now he's trying to, how to say, he's trying to let us have some sense of carefulness here, some sense of carefulness here to not to lose that what you have, not to transgress the vow that which you have it already. So he is trying here through all this, another next stanza, he is trying to let us have some sort of like a sense of carefulness. Then now, firstly, this stanza is trying to kind of like a telling us, how can I contain this all meaning? For example, this stanza number 2 to stanza number 12. Stanza number 2 to stanza number 12. That mainly what he is talking about, that how to have a sense of carefulness to not to transgress the one's bodhisattva's vow. Stanza number 2 to 12 is talking about that, and how he is talking about. Then he is talking about in this way. Now, first two stanza is, whatever was began without due heat, and all that was not properly conceived, although I promised and pledged were given, it is right to reconsider, shall I act or not? So he is trying to giving us some, letting us to raise some sort of like a carefulness, right? After you understand all these things above, based on after you understand these precepts, okay? Now, after you have it, this bodhisattva's vow, and after you understand what really makes you transgress it, your bodhisattva's vow. Now, what you're really doing it now, actually in every day, what you're really doing it. And then some of those actions which you are doing because you promised to somebody, because you pledged to somebody that I will do this for you. Now he's saying, after that, if your act, that whatever you are going to act based on your promise or pledge or your daily routine whatsoever, after you understand all these things, then try to how to say, try to understand that whether what you are really doing, it is really transgressing your vow or not. If it is transgressing, if it is disturbing your path, then it is right to reconsider. That's what it's saying. It is right to reconsider. If it is not contradictory, then it's okay. Whatever you made a promise, pledge, if it is not contradicting with this bodhisattva's vow, then we don't have to worry about. If it is contradicting that what we have promised, what we have vowed, and this promise that which you made, and then if you act that what you promised, that action, if it is really contradicting with your vow, the bodhisattva's vow, which you just now have it, and then it is right to reconsider, and then shall I act or not, whether I should do it or not. Actually, indirectly, the Shantideva is saying, like, if it is contradicting, it's better not. It's giving like this option, the thinking, that shall I act or not. That you analyzed, you you analyze and then reconsider that whether I should act or not, even though I have a pledge, even though I have a promise. It is wise, it is saying that, in short, that he's saying it is wise to make that decisions, even though you have a promise. Normally, that which we're thinking like, if I made promise, I made it promise, right? Now what, no matter what, I shall do it. But he is not saying that. He's saying, if it is really contradicting your path, then it is better to reconsider and then think whether I should act or not. And then indirectly, as I told you that, directly this world giving you some sort of like a options that shall I act or not. Actually, Shantideva indirectly saying it's better to not act. It's if it is contradicting with your vow, and if it is contradicting with your Mahayana path, then better not to act. And why? The reason that showing this next stanza, why you shouldn't act. And this stanza, I told you that Shantideva indirectly means not. Why? Because this third stanza tell us that, oh, absolutely, he's saying not. In this, if you just look this second stanza, he's kind of like giving you an option. But when you look into that third stanza, then he's saying absolutely not. How he is saying that absolutely not, in a way that, but he's not just saying this absolutely not without any reason. He's saying this is absolutely not good idea to do it because of this and this. He's providing this next stanza two reasons. He's providing two reasons for us to better not to. Shall I act or not? Answering that question. Shall I act or not, right? This is like a question mark. And he's answering this with the two reasons. With next stanza, providing two reasons to not to act. And how he is providing two reasons here. It is, yet what the Buddhas and their hearers have scrutinized in their great wisdom. That's the one reason. That's the one reason that he is answering, shall I act or not? And then I myself have probed and scrutinized. That's the second reason. And why should I now procrastinate? Now that's what's really saying, better not, right? Shall I act or not? And then it becomes not. And in Tibetan here, we Bakchol Samba Kangi Ba Kanshi Lebur Mata Ba Teni Tamcha Chejuna Chejur Jams Cham Tang Shita Re Sanje Namna Teis Sherab Chimbu Kantashi Dani Ki Janta Tama Dela Shul Buchishi Years. Now mainly first two lines he's giving one reason, and then the third line another reason, and then the fourth line is saying, why should I now procrastinate? So why should I now procrastinate means now why should I act, right? Shall I act or not? Not. It becomes like no, not. That's what he's saying. The reason that, okay, so now describe a little bit the reason here. The reason here that yet what the Buddhas and their here have scrutinized in their great wisdom. Actually, this two reasons, actually he already provided us in the first chapter. We can look into this first chapter that how he said, how he provided this, that Buddhas and their hearers have scrutinized that how Buddha said. Do you remember that I told you one time that how Buddha advised it to king to ask king to, although you are very busy, but how to say, you are not being able to engage into those six prajna paramitas, although, but yet you can still keep that aspiration bodhisattvas. while you are walking, while you are eating, while you are sitting, while you are doing like all this and taking care of your kingdom. Meanwhile, you can keep that aspiration bodhisattvas. That how that Shakyamuni Buddha advised it to his friend king, right? That's the Buddhas, that their great wisdom, they scrutinized, that they see the value of that vacant mind. And then in the stanza itself, that we can look back to this, how have it scrutinized in their great wisdom. And we can look back to chapter number first, this chapter number first, stanza 6. Actually, the stanza 6 to all the way, all the way to stanza number 14. Stanza 6 to stanza 14, right? Let me read you one stanza which is really brief, that how it is saying that how those Buddhas and their hearers scrutinize with their great wisdom. Stanza number 8. Look at it, stanza number 8, that which actually we already gone. Those who wish to crush the many sorrow of existence, and who wish to quell the pain of living beings, and who wish to have experience of myriad joys, should never turn away from Bodhisattva. That's how they scrutinize with their great wisdom. That's the, actually these are the not something just saying, actually these are the determination vote. These are the vote that confirmed vote, actually. And likewise, this vote is also very strong, that they determining with their great wisdom, Buddhas and their here. And then I myself have probed and scrutinized, right? What does it mean now? This is again in stanza number, chapter number first, stanza number, what is it? That stanza number 21 and 22, these two stanza that Shantideva is trying to prove this, having this awakened mind is how it is grateful through the logic, actually, through logic. That how he is proving here, this in stanza number 21, this 21 and 22 is he is trying to proving the aspiration bodhisattva. The aspiration bodhisattva, how it is great to have an aspiration bodhisattva, proving by utilizing the logic, through our logic. That logic he used is, if some person with the kindly generosity, like if with kindly generosity, that maybe we should add person here. If someone or some person with the kindly generosity, one merely has the wish to soothe the aching hearts of other beings, such merit knows no bound. If that the case, then no need to speak. That's 22nd the stanza. No need to speak then of on the other hand, some other person who wish to drive away the endless pain of each and every living beings, bringing them to unbounded excellence. Then, yeah, if the first thing, normally, isn't it, in our old day-to-day life, world life, that some person who is not doing anything actually, who is just concerning about you, you appreciate that, right? Who just concerned about your headache, and who make wish, oh, may you cure your headache soon, and you feel good. You feel kind of like some sort of like a supported, right? And that is considered actually good action. Good person who have that kind of mental, we see as a good person, right? If that becomes good, then someone on the other hand who is making wish each and every living beings to cure their headache, let's say for example, then no need to speak. It becomes like a no need to speak. This is now he's using logic. He is trying to provide that how this aspiration, its aspiration awakened mind itself is great. Kind of like a trying to let us understand with our own day-to-day life experience, daily life experience through logic, not just relying on somebody saying it. Now, like a Buddha said it, their hearer said it, not just that. That reason he already provided, right? The first reason is that. And then the second reason, even he is trying to let us use our intelligence to understand this. And how he is trying to let us try to understand this value of this aspiration bodhisattva in this way. That now he's saying, isn't it even in this mundane way, somebody who's concerning about others' headache is also considering, oh, he is a great person. Then no need to speak. On the other hand, someone who is making wish to each and every sentient beings to cure their headache. But actually he is not making wish for a headache. He is making wish for completely the root of the sorrow. He making more stronger wish than the other person. Then no need to speak. Isn't it really becomes like no need to speak through our logic? That's what it is saying here. This is stanza number 3. The carefulness is stanza number 3. That, what is this? Why is that? Maybe my cup disturbing. Seems like, right? Anyway, so that's what it is that Shantideva is talking about. I myself have probed and scrutinized. Okay? How we ourselves have probed and scrutinized. In a chapter number 1, we scrutinize in this way, right? And then how we probed and scrutinize about application bodhisattva then later. And again, this one we can look into the 21 and 22, the aspiration bodhisattvas, right? Looking through the probed and scrutinize or the analyze, right? Based on our logic to understand how it is worth. And now the application bodhisattva, how it is more worth than this described in this stanza 27. That logic, he used this logic for he used this logic, and he want us to utilize our logic in this way. That what he used is stanza number 27. That if the simple thought to be of help to others exceed in worth the worship of the Buddha, what need is there to speak of actual deeds that brings about the will and benefit of beings? Will, W-E-A-L, right? W-E-A-L. Well, will, yeah, will. That bring about the will and benefit of beings. This is the logic he used it in the chapter number 1. This is what here it is talking about. I myself have probed and scrutinized. Plus, do you remember I told you? Plus, I told you that actually this bodhisattva, awakened mind, is exactly opposite of selfish. Do you remember that? That we can understand through our logic too. If we use our intelligence, we can see that, we can feel that. That concerning about others and concerning about myself cannot be in the same mind, right? So that concerning about others, it is very actually direct, becomes antidote or the opposite of selfishness. And then while maintaining this awakened mind and act based on that intention, then this all becomes like a kind of like a good karma for sure. But even there is a chances it can also becomes beyond karma too, right? This is using all our logic here now. Shantideva, in chapter number 1, those are the logic. That's what it is talking about. I myself have probed and scrutinized. The second reason why you should not act. Shall I act or not, right? Shall I act or not? And he's saying not because of these two reasons. Because the Buddhas and their hearer, with their scrutinize, with their great wisdom, they came to that conclusion. They came to that determination. So, based on their advice, it seems better not to act, even though you made a pledge, even though you have a promise. Better not to do it. As long as, if it is contradicting with your path, better not to do it. Right? And then, another reason that also we ourselves scrutinized it, probed and scrutinized it through our intelligence, through our logic. How? In chapter number 1, that 21st stanza and 22nd stanza, and then the 27th stanza. These are the logic. And plus, that I'm telling you here now. Also, we can use this, our intelligence, to see that within these two stage of mind, that mind which is really willing to help others, concerning about others, and then the selfish. These two is contradictory. These two cannot stand on one stage of mind. And whichever mind we developed more, it can dominate. And when our awakened mind can dominate all our mind, then naturally our behave, our act, all becomes like a helping others. It is without any effort, it can just naturally becomes like a supporting others and helping others. But in order to have that kind of capability, first we have to make it this mind, dominate this all our mind with the having that concerning about well-beings all the time. When you develop this concerning about well-beings all the time, then that mind will going to become stronger and stronger, and it will going to dominate all your emotions and all your mind. Rather than saying emotion, I think it's better to say mind. It dominates your mind. Once it dominates your mind, then out of that intention, whatever you do, it naturally becomes like a helping and supporting others. So it can reduce our selfish a lot. And when we reduce our selfish, then many problem is solved. Many problem is automatically solved because you are now dealing with its root, not just the branch. Normally that in mundane method, we don't have that antidote. We don't have these ideas. And we always deal with the branches. And therefore, it is not ending up. Therefore, it will never going to end. It will going to grow sooner or later again. When there's all causes and conditions there, it will grow again. And then you cut again. And then it grow again. Then that's why it has become like so difficult. Instead of taking that constantly difficult, if you take one hardship and then cut it from its root. Yeah, cutting it from its root is also difficult. I'm not saying it is easy, but it is much better trying 1,000 times hardship and then they're trying one ship with a great hardship. That's much more worth trying one time with a great hardship. Then they try 1,000 times to try hardship. But even that 1,000 times, 100% sure that it will not going to go away. After, it is not like something that after you try 1,000 times, then it's gone. No. In a mundane method, even you try 1,000 times, but still it will going to come back, sure. But just trying one time hardshiply, and there's a great chances that it may not come again. It may not come back again. It will not going to grow again. That great chance. But that one hardship is this now. This is the method that Shantideva is providing here. This is what you should try to generate within yourself, and this is what you should try to dominate your mind. It is a challenge because you have to sacrifice yourself. But once you take it, that great hardship, and you do it, then it's done. Then later, it becomes smooth. It becomes easy. While in a process, yes, we may feel challenge during the process. But it is much more worth than trying hardship 1,000 times. And even that 1,000 times, it's 100% sure it will not going to get it off. After 1,000 times, it will going to grow again. It is just like that. The branches of tree, doesn't matter 1,000 times you cut, it will going to come again. For sure, right? 100%. And if instead of cutting this 1,000 time branches, if you cut it this root one time, and cutting root is more harder than the cutting branches, absolutely. But taking one great hardship, then after that, never grow again. There's great chances if you try to this great hardship to cut it from its root, right? So now, the method or the antidote to how to cut it from its root, now these are the methods that awaken mind and practice this, meditate this 4 immeasurable, and practice this 6 perfect, 6, what do you call it? 6 perfection, 6 parameters, 6 perfections. I'm trying to practicing, engaging into those. Engaging into those, one hand, it helps to maintain our bodhisattva swaha. On the other hand, it also developing our attitude, our behavior. It is also developing the, improving our manner and our attitude too. It's kind of like a win-win situations actually. So this is how, this logic also you can use to see the worth of awakened mind. That awakened mind is actually, I consider normally, it is really opposite of selfishness. It's very direct opposition, it contradicts with the selfish. And then once we are able to dominate that awakened mind, then selfish can reduce itself automatically. So other than that, in some other method like a Theravada, then they saying method using like some sort of like a self is not exist and watch the self which not exist and like those, then meditate on those. The people who like to think, this meditation is difficult. People who like to think. People who like to think, then this method is good. You can think about others, but still you're thinking. You are thinking about others, but at the same time you're reducing your selfishness. If you don't have this method, then what method we have to use in order to reduce ourselves is looking at selflessness, finding where's the self. That also works actually. It's not that it doesn't work. But to do that, it is like you need more sit and meditate and contemplate, rather than it doesn't really involve much more act, physical and verbal act. Only the mental act. And then this mental act, in order to do that, we need to sit and we need to think and we need to avoid many other acts of physical and verbal. But this, without avoiding that, also we can maintain this. That's kind of like a skillful method now. When you go to the higher and higher path, and those has an extra method, extra antidote. That's how it is. As I'm always saying, it does not mean that you completely forget the base one and then you completely joining other path. It is not like that. Still, we can use this selflessness with the awakened mind as well. We can meditate sometimes selflessness and sometimes in the bodhisattvas, the awakened mind. That way, we can do something, many different things, still not mixing with the self. Otherwise, if you have only one antidote, then you need to try only this one antidote. And sometimes we human become bored by just applying one antidote all the time, right? So people like us, it is good to have a different antidote. Sometimes I can use this antidote, sometimes I can use this antidote, sometimes I can use this antidote. So we also feel like that, oh, I can do many things. Then we also feel like that I did something. Otherwise, if you just ask you to do one thing, then you get bored later. Same like this company job too, right? Your normal job. Always, if you watch computer every day, 8 hours, then you get bored. You need to have something. And also this organization or company, also they concern about that too. They're trying to provide you a different job, so you didn't get bored and you keep working for them. They're also trying that, right? That's okay to try, actually, I think, right? But the more useful or not, it depends now. Even though those computer jobs, this organizer company, they founded many different ways to makes you not bored and makes you keep active. To give today, give this job, tomorrow give another job. But although it is all computer job, it's all computer job, but in a different aspect, trying to make you active all the time. It can be just like that too. Okay, so however, the point is here what I said, using our logic to understand this, how it is worked. Even I would say additional logic that I'm saying that top of that logic that what Shantideva used it in stanza number 1, chapter number 1. We can also use this logic that isn't it's really contradicting with the selfishness, that mind. Isn't it if I keep maintain this mind, it can help me myself to reduce this sense of selfish. And if I reduce the sense of selfish, then I can reduce those emotions. And if I reduce these emotions, and I less engage creating bad karmas, I can less and less and less. And gradually I can have more control in my own emotions. And using those logic, and also this logic, and also can become like this. I myself have probed and scrutinized in this way. Then these are now actually, it is not something saying that we can right from the beginning, practically we can 100% act. And Shantideva is also not hoping that either. But intellectually, we need to understand this first, 100%. Understanding 100% not guaranteed that we can act 100% yet. But it is very much needed to understand 100% in order to try. If you don't understand 100%, then we may not try, right? Because you still keep some sense that it might not work. When you have that sense, it might not work, then you don't bother to try. When you don't bother to try, then you just live normal with the mundane. And then when you live mundane with the normal mundane life, then you keep cutting these branches. And then let it keep growing when causes and conditions are there. And then keep cut, keep grow, keep cut, keep grow, keep cut, keep grow. And that's how it becomes endless. Through this method, it can end up now. Anyway, so the why should I now procrastinate? This is what now. I told you that stanza number 2, Shantideva is kind of like giving an option, 2 options, but stanza number 3 saying not really option. This is what you should not do it. Because with this, but also he is not just ordering as well, right? He's not just saying without any reason you should not do it. He's providing us reason, but here reason is providing these 2 reasons, very clear, right? 2 reasons. Based on your own logic, you can see that. Therefore, you better not to act. Based on those great experienced persons' advice, if you look to their advice, they also suggesting, they also recommending strongly that you better not to do it. Is it? Yeah, that's how you need to understand this stanza number 3, okay? So with that, he's trying to give us some sense of carefulness, sense of carefulness for us to maintain this bodhisattva's vow with these 2 reasons. And then now from here, actually he's describing like I can say here, we can understand after this stanza number 4 to stanza number what it is? 12, right? Yeah, stanza number 12. Until that, we kind of like differentiate with the 4 different type of person here. 4 different type of person, and we try to understand this meaning. I think it can make more understandable if you make it like this. 4 type of persons is there, and then try to understand it. And from here, actually, what he is trying to, how he is trying to have a sense of carefulness to maintain our bodhisattva's vow is describing the fault of transgressing. Actually, normally people to care to not do something, they need both this reason, right? They need both reasons. If I care this, what I will gonna get it? What I will gonna achieve it? If I care this, what I can avoid it? Right? Needed these 2 things all the time. We reason. Even normally in our life, old life, let's say, for instance, cooking in a home, for example. Cooking in a home. Why we need to cook in a home? We also need these 2 reasons. Why I have to cook in a home? Because it's fresh, healthy, than eating outside, right? Isn't it? Isn't it? It is more healthier, more fresh than eating in a restaurant, than eating outside. Therefore, it's better to cook in a home and eat. And on the other hand, if you cook in a home, it can also avoid the exhausting your finance. Isn't it? Very simple. When we think these two reasons, and it help us to have a sense of care to not go out all the time and eat. Make it yourself in a home. It is fresh, healthy, plus I can save my money. I don't waste my money. Right? It's avoid to how can I say now this? It can avoid the wasting your money actually now directly. Actually, when it goes with this vow, then it avoids, it helps us to not transgress. It helps us to have a sense of care to not transgress it when we understand its fault. Right? We through this cooking lunch in home, we understand the fault of not cooking food in a home. If I don't cook lunch in a home, what fault I will going to face is wasting money. Yeah, right? If you cook in a home, it's much cheaper, isn't it? This is logic I'm just using, okay? Not necessary to, maybe some people thinking maybe it's not correct. But if it is not correct, doesn't matter. We can go with another example. Okay, I'm trying to matching this example with this meaning. Why Shantideva is trying. In the chapter number first, it described its all benefit. Already finished. Now here, in this chapter number 4, he is trying to let us some sense of careness about our vow. And he's giving us kind of like guiding us that what if I don't maintain this? What if I transgress this? What fault you are going to face? Right? This is what it is explaining. So we need to see all these things. Actually, I'm saying this is actually in our day-to-day life. Human needs these two reasons to have a sense of care, not to do what they're doing. All the times, actually. Many of the things, whatever we do, we need these two reasons. What's the point of doing it? And what's the, that what I can avoid? What I can achieve and what I can avoid. But by engaging into this activity, isn't it? Same like here now, this Shantideva. The achievement he already explained in this chapter number 1. Now here more he's kind of like guiding us what fault we may going to face if without care, if we transgressed our vow. So the guiding in this way, and he's trying to indirectly, he's trying to let us raise some sense of carefulness. Okay, so now first here, okay, and then this one, I told you, this stanza number 4 to 12, we can understand based on 4 different type of people. I think you can understand more clear if we make it like this, 4 things. The first type of person now here. First type of person. Kalte dedar tamche ni legi dubar majena semjen dedar kun lube dagi duwa chindar juru. Mugo phalba chungse lang yiji jimbar samshe ni mikang chimbar mijeba tiyan yida gyursung na lana mebi dewala sambathabe jwenye ne doa tamche luishe na dendro jigar rojo ram. This 3 stanza now. 4th, 5th and 6th. That first type of person. This first type of person, Shantideva is actually recommending you better not to be like that type of person. Okay? What type of person here now? For if I bind myself with the promise, but fail to carry out my words in deed, then every being will have been betrayed. Right? Betrayed. what destiny must lie in store for me. Right? This answer is given by this 5th and 6th stanza actually. This is kind of like a raising questions. This is some sort of like a raising questions that, for if I bind myself with the promise, but I failed to carry out my words in deed, then every being will have been betrayed. What destiny must lie in store for me? Okay, what is our promise? That what is my, okay, I bind myself with the promise. What promise? What we made promise? We received this Bodhisattva, as I told you earlier, right? We need to have this, all this we need to study based on assuming that I have Bodhisattva's vow. That's the promise we made it. Right? Otherwise, what is it talking about promise? What I made promise. Right? What I made promise here. What Shandideva was talking about promise here? The promise he is talking about that assuming that you already received Bodhisattva's vow. And when you receive Bodhisattva vow, what we committed, what we promised, that I will going to benefit in each and every sentient being. Not just benefit, but also lead them to complete enlightenment, the unsurpassed above stage. We promised that. That is promise. But fail to carry out my words in deed. I promise that, but if I don't do it this, I fail to do it this, then every being will have been betrayed. You betrayed every being, isn't it? Action of betrayed every beings. What consequences will going to be? And this is what destiny must lie in store for me. This is question mark, right? The question. And then this answering with this 5th stanza, this question. It's saying, if in the teaching it is said that those who in their thought intend to give a small and paltry thing, but then draw back. Okay? That action could becomes condition for that person's will take rebirth as a hungry spirit. Now he said that how Shantideva is giving answer here, isn't it very sweet way? He is letting us compare. Answering is kind of like he's letting us compare now. On the other hand, someone, how to say, who not promised, who just thought it, right? Not promised, who just thought it to intend to give a small and paltry thing. And then, after 1 minute, he drew back. Now, that stingy actions, right? This stingy mind, that itself is action now. And every action has reaction, its consequences. Now, this drawing back with the stinginess, here actually Shantideva was not saying direct word stinginess, but actually it means with stinginess. Without stinginess, if you have a good reason to draw back, that's not the case. Okay? That's not the case. If you have a good reason to draw back, then that's okay. Don't take it as this way. Okay? Don't take it here now literally. Again, I can tell you here. Don't take it as literally. You can take this, you can add it here, stinginess. You make it add it here. Shantideva is actually talking based on a stinginess. sense of stinginess. When you raise the stinginess, then it becomes bad karma, right? Otherwise, why it becomes? It is not guaranteed. Just drawing back is not guaranteed. You may have a good reason drawing back, right? Okay. However, to give a small and paltry thing, but then draw back, that action could become condition for that person to become a cause, will take rebirth as a hungry spirit. If that's the case, then the above one, what destiny must I lie in store for me now? He's answering in this way. He's letting us compare these two things, and he's letting us understand why we compare these two things, and letting us understand what destiny must lie in store for me. And then also, how can I expect a happy destiny? Okay, after you transgressed this, you're wow. And how can I expect a happy destiny if from my heart I summon wandering being to the highest bliss, but then deceived and failed them? Okay? So now with this 3 stanza, you can take as a one type of person who took the Bodhisattva's vow and then later completely careless and not following at all. Now completely transgressed and never trying to restore, or never trying to repair, never trying to get again. That type of person now here. This 3 stanza, the persons who doing this type of job, things, that's one type of person. Okay? And then next, stanza number 7 and 8. 7 and 8. Stanza number 7 and 8, and you can consider as a second type of person now. Again, another type of person who is Mekang Chanchu Sem Tanya, the Tarbar Zebani, Little Samjim, the Tamjikin, Konekin, then in Chanchu Sembala, Turina, and Chiwa, the other than Shonguna, Semjin Jitana, means conscience, Kijit Samya, the Sonam Pache Kijava, Semjitana, Menju, the day in Romatame. Okay, we make an this 2 stanza, we make an understand with this 2 stanza with the one type of person, another type of person. Okay, second type of person. First type of person with this 3 stanza, who is completely transgressed and never trying to repair again. And actually, Shantideva, what he is saying? Okay, first, before we saying this, we just keep continuing. Go. Then the second type of person, this stanza number 7 and 8 is, as for those who losing bodhicitta lead other nonetheless to liberation, karmic law is inconceivable and only understood by the omniscient. This failure for the bodhisattva is the gravest of all downfall, for should it ever come to pass, the good of every being is thrown down. What do you understand? This is, I don't really get it with this English. What do you understand? Look at this stanza number 7 and 8. Especially this stanza number 7. As for those who losing bodhicitta, right? Bodhicitta, lead others nonetheless to liberation. Lead others. It is talking about self, that who lost the bodhicitta. How are you understanding this stanza? Don't understand?
What it means when you lost bodhicitta, but you think you've gone to teaching and leading people, taking people, or Dharma, teaching Dharma, whatever. Is it mean? But based on the karmic law, let's say.
No, that okay. So you are understanding this way. Then that's not Shantideva was trying to let us understand.
Maybe the great bodhisattvas.
This is describing second type of person, right? No. Okay, now think. What I'm trying to say in this second type of person. First type of person, transgress completely and never try, right? But now this second type of person is little better than first type of person. Actually, it should be little better. So now what do you understanding this stanza? With that concept, look this stanza.
You're only doing it for worldly gains, not necessarily bodhisattva precepts, but just for worldly virtue, not for other virtue.
Okay, actually, this stanza is actually what Shantideva was saying is the person, second type of person who transgressed, who lost their bodhisattva. Okay, first they enter into Mahayana path. And then later they feel this is so difficult, this is not for me. And then give up this and then enter into Theravadan path. And then from there, that type of person can achieve liberation or not. This is what Shantideva was saying.
So they leave the Mahayana,
they go to the Theravadan path, lower path. Okay, let's just say lower path. Okay, they don't completely give up Dharma. The first type of person, it's careless now, completely careless, right? The first type of person, right? Second type of person, I told you, it's a little better than the first type of person, which means now he give up this Mahayana path, but still he's not giving up Dharma completely. He's still following the path of liberation. He's still practicing path of liberation. Now the question mark is, that type of person can achieve liberation or not? That's the question. If he give up Bodhisattva's vow, he transgressed Bodhisattva's vow, okay? Lost his Bodhisattva, Bodhicitta, and then engage into the lower path, and then from there trying to achieve liberation. And can he or she can achieve it, that result or not? This is something Shantideva, he doesn't want to answer actually. That's why he's putting this to the Buddha, you know. Therefore he's saying what he's saying. Karmic law is inconceivable and only understood by the omniscient. I don't want to answer that. He doesn't have a direct answer for this question. And according with the history, it happens. Shariputra is considering, right? Shariputra, he raised Bodhicitta at the beginning and later he gave up. But he achieved liberation, right? There's a historical proof. And now this is explaining some, oh, no, he didn't really give up. He just gave up outlook. Some scholar describing it this way, but no matter how much it make. So now the question mark is, the bottom line, what we want to understand is, if that second type of person, if he give up, transgressed his bodhisattva vow, and then go to the lower path, and can that person succeed? And then this not really Shantideva is giving answer, and I don't know what to answer to. But historically, it seems like it proved it. You can achieve liberation, right? Isn't it? Now this is question mark. We need to question.
But he already said it's the law of karma is inconceivable. So automatically the answer is based on He already give the answer.
Not clear, not direct
Not
answer.
directly.
Yeah. That's what I'm
But
saying.
he already
Other answers that he giving is very clear, right? Now this answer is little bit not 100% clear. In one way we can say, but on the other hand, yes, it is a little bit answered that karma is inconceivable. To detail to understand the consequences of karma is only omniscient mind can be able to understand that. So let Buddha answer this question. I, Bodhisattva, cannot answer this question. That's what indirectly he's saying. Right? But this is stanza number 8. But what I can really tell is this one. Now look into that stanza number 8. But what I really can tell, this is the failure for the Bodhisattvas. That I can tell. Shantideva was answering now this question like in this way. That I can answer. If some Bodhisattva transgressed their vow, transgressing Bodhisattva vow is the failure for the Bodhisattvas. And that is the gravest of all downfalls. That I can tell. That I can answer. And then what it means, for should it ever come to pass, the good of every being is thrown down. What do you understand this? This 2 stanza is actually answering. 2 lines is answering. I cannot answer this whether that type of person can achieve liberation or not. I cannot really answer this. But what I can really answer to you this question, that action itself is the failure for the Bodhisattvas, and then is the gravest of all downfall. That I can tell. You see? And then what you can understand by next 2 lines. For should it ever come to pass, the good of every being is thrown down. What do you understand?
The gravest of all downfalls. The gravest, the most serious.
Yeah.
The most serious of all downfalls.
That I can tell. Even that person engaged into lower path, he have to carry these consequences. That's what he mean now. He have to bear these consequences of transgressing vow. And this transgressing vow is the gravest of all downfall. Gravest of all downfall. Through that, and he is trying to let us to have some sense of carefulness, not to transgress our Bodhisattva's vow. Actually, that is the main purpose, okay? Not to just make us scared and then walk away. The purpose is that, as I told you earlier, right? Making lunch in a house, you need to understand both. If you don't understand both, you may don't care then. So what? There's no any fault. There's a benefit, yes, I understand. It is healthy and fresh, but there's no fault. I go out and eat. But if you understand fault, then it's better to avoid, isn't it? That way, here, he is trying to let us understand the fault now, not only benefit. Benefit, only talking benefit is not enough people to courage. In order to encourage people, they need to understand both sides, benefit and fault. What if I not? What if I yes? Right? What if I yes? Then you will going to have this. What if I not? Then you are going to be okay. Then I'm okay. Then I live my life with okay. People say that, right? Many people say that. And especially young boys and girls. If there's no problem, then I'm okay. No matter how much benefits is there, as long as there's no problem, then it's easy. I'll live my life like that way. They don't care then. They don't raise the sense of care. In order to raise the sense of care, need both informations. What if I follow? And what if I not follow? So only understanding one side is not enough to encourage people. Anyway, so and then also saying, and also on the other hand, for should it ever come to pass, the good of every being is thrown down. What do you understanding this now? He is giving us another reason too here actually. This with the two lines. Next two lines. First two lines he is answering, it is the gravest of all downfall. That's the one answer. And then the another answer, it is actually what he's saying. I don't know what this English, I don't understand either. What you understand? Tell me what you understand.
It's for you that others get enlightenment, so it's your aspirations that bring others to enlightenment. So you're also condemning everyone to suffering.
Not really, it is talking about suffering.
Or should it ever come to pass, the good of every being is thrown down. So let's say he passed this door, but then the good of all the being is thrown down. Like he's not benefiting the others.
Okay, dita dini chungyuna, interpreting, dita dini chungyuna, semchen kunji tana men. And also what it can be affect is if you transgress in this way, your bodhisattvas, wow, then you don't repair. Then later you cannot benefit many beings. You cannot benefit beings like Shakyamuni Buddha did. How it seems like now. Is this okay? It is okay or not okay?
Only you pass.
Huh?
Only he himself pass. But the rest of the
Yeah, you cannot really benefit without this. If you wish to benefit others, you must have this. This is what it is saying actually. You must have this bodhisattva's power. Bodhicitta. You must have bodhicitta in order to benefit immense sentient beings. Without that, you won't be able to benefit immense beings. You can benefit some few, but you won't be able to benefit immense being. For example, like Shakyamuni Buddha, right? And Guru Padmasambhava, how they did it. You won't be able to do like that way. You can do a little bit, but you won't be able to do immense benefit without having this bodhicitta. That's the another effect by not having, transgressing, and not repairing. Okay, both. First answer is he didn't really answering, right? He's letting answer to Buddha. Only omniscient mind can tell the real, exactly whether that type of person can be still able to achieve liberations or not. But what I can tell, if someone does in this way, then the consequences of transgressing, he have to face, he have to bear, he or she, right? Bear. And on the other effect, it can also affect that you may not be able to benefit immense of beings. These are the four. But this second type of person, it is not completely giving up practice. He's changing his path, right? He's changing his path from up to down, up to low. That's the second type of person. and letting us choose, Shantideva's choose what you want to be, first type of person, or second type of person, or third type of person, or fourth type of person. Okay, we'll talk third type of person and fourth type of person tomorrow. Okay, if you have questions, we can discuss. One.
You know what? It's very easy that at the beginning you feel generous and then you feel like giving, right? And then here it says like a person who wants to have the intention to give something small, and then he, you know, they
Draw
just
back.
touching it back, and then they take
Draw
it
back.
and that person alone already go to the
Not that person alone. That action
yeah, that action
could become cause,
the cause of that
could become cause,
cause to be
will take you rebirth to hungry spirit.
the hungry spirit. But we humans do that a lot. We tend to do that a lot. This is for real.
No,
We do that a lot.
no. It doesn't matter we do or not do.
But
It is matter the fact what it will going to be happen if you do it. And if you're doing it after understanding that, try not to do it. Yeah, that's what you should try, rather than saying that, oh, I'm doing it, I'm gonna keep doing it. This is not the purpose of
Easy
teaching.
to make this mistake.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
at one point you feel like you have the money to do this or this, and then life situation change, and then you feel like you cannot be generous as before, so you draw back. That happens very often, you know. It's not because we want to, but the life situation change.
Yeah.
We have more expenses.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I told you. Don't take it as literally. Take it as you can add here stinginess. With the stinginess, if I draw back, then that really can become cause. Cause will take rebirth in a hungry spirit.
But even
That's for sure now. That's for sure.
But even the life situation change and you change your mind not to give, I think it's still standing. From
Still a little bit, but
stinginess.
not really
Yeah.
stinginess, right?
Still standing from stinginess, I think. It's still standing from. We change our mind, we don't want to give. It's still standing from stinginess.
Okay.
It's still standing from stinginess.
Okay, then tricky here.
Yeah.
And as long as it's a stinginess, then it can
I
become.
think it still is. Very tricky. Yeah. But this is good to go through.
Then
What about the branch downfalls? If we, you know, 40 or so branch downfall. Those are even more difficult.
the Bodhisattva's branch downfall. Branch downfall is any kind of harm. Any kind of harming other is branch downfall for Bodhisattvas.
Like wasting time is one of them.
Wasting time, not really. No.
Or
Sleepings, eatings, these are not.
or just wasting time on that's not one of them.
No. Those are not. Those are not. As already described, Shantideva, after you generate this application Bodhisattva, even you sleep, you accumulate merit. Right? Then even you become like a very kind of like a, you just do nothing, just sit there. It is also keep continue accumulating merit. That's the advantage of having vow. Actually, I always think commitment is so important, right? The vow is important. Why I'm saying this? As long as you have this vow, without doing anything, you keep practicing. That itself is practice. You are keep practicing. That's the really advantage of vow. That's the really advantage of commitment. That's why masters are encouraging or strongly recommending to commitment. Right? Have a vow at least. Not just not doing is not enough. Not do with the vow. Don't do with the vow. Understand? Yeah. Not just doing, then it becomes neutral. It's neither good or bad. If you don't do anything with the vow, still virtue. That's the very advantage of vow, commitment. As I'm always saying this, giving example with a school or job, right? As soon as you sign the paper, you keep building credit. If you don't sign, which means you are belonging to that school. When you're not belonging to that school, you cannot build the credit of that school. You cannot have a record, good record, right? Just this example just used to understand how vow work, how commitment is important. And then also the commitment is the one really can help to reduce all mistake too. Guilty, all this guilty, reduce. In order to reduce this, medicine is commitment. Not just not doing is not become medicine. Not doing with the commitment then really becomes antidote. Then it really helps you to reduce. And it really helps you to be able to control. Without commitment, don't just not doing, it not really helps you to be able to control that emotion. And it's not also not really going to help you to reduce that emotion either. And it is not really going to help you to remove that mistake guilty feeling either. To remove that guilty feeling, to reduce that, to control that emotion, commitment is the one very important antidote, important role playing there. Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that there is the 18 downfalls plus the other two total 20 downfalls.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I get that information? I wasn't here that week, but even if I'm here, I don't think people can remember the 20 downfalls. So where can we get that information? Because we hear,
Now you have that information in English.
20 downfalls.
But
Where is it? Where you can find it?
at home I have it, but not. I don't.
Where?
Can we look up on the internet?
I think so, right?
In Mahayana Sutra.
Mahayana Sutra, which one?
Back home, yeah. In my house, I have it.
No. What's the name? Scripture, Sutra.
Yeah. Vietnamese.
Oh, what name? This is better for her, I think. If you tell the name, she can just find.
Then yeah.
I'll tell you later.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
No, the name. What is the
He
scripture?
has at home.
Huh?
He said he has at home. He'll bring tomorrow.
Okay.
No.
I can tell you. I cannot bring over here.
Oh.
You can bring
Why not
tomorrow.
bring?
Yeah.
Bring to share.
Yeah, you can bring the book if you have it. And then we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we go.
Okay. So dedicate merit. Sunam de damje zebani tomne nyebe danam pamjene shega nanji walon tubai sibe zole doa sho jamba jeda jamba na Kundu Zambo Deyan Deshin Deda Gewan Deda Damje Lodum Gewan De Shewo Sanam Yeshe Tozo Sanam Yeshe Lejon Kamba Kunyin Tobasho Sanje Kusum Yebe Chimang Chenye Mingyur Dembe Shimang Gendun Mijin Dembe Shimang Jidara Moa Rumbasho. Read it please in English. By this beneficial activity, may I obtain omniscience, and having vanquished the harmful enemies, greed, anger, delusion, may I liberate all being tossed about helplessly by the waves of birth, aging, illness, and death in the ocean of becoming. By conforming to the knowledge of courageous Manjushri, Jambalyam, and in the same way as Samindavatara, Kundusambo, and following their example, I dedicate perfectly all this virtue. By this virtue, may all being perfectly achieve the accumulation of knowledge, sonam, and wisdom, yeshe, and may they thereafter obtain the two holy bodies which result from these two accumulations. By the blessing of the Buddha, Sangha, who obtained the three bodies, by the blessing of the immutable truth of the Dharmata, Chuni, by the blessing of the infallible aspirations of the Sangha, Gendin, may this prayer of dedications be accomplished just as it is. Okay.
Nhà của con cũng có nhiều cái hạnh.
một cách hạnh
Vâng.
không biết để lời con
mà thầy giảng em cũng chưa có câu hỏi nhưng mà biết anh thầy giỏi ngày mai